Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lefty from 643 Productions coming at you here with another Black Ops sniping gameplay commentary. This is 6-man team deathmatch on Jungle. I am using the gold L96 Warlorded with extended mags and the variable zoom. Coming at you here today with part 3 of my perks analysis series, small little series I'm doing. And in my last video I started talking about TTKs and the idea of damage output and having perks directly alter TTKs. And one thing that I didn't really get into, or neglected to mention at the very least, was that I'm not strictly talking about altering TTKs from the perspective of damage output. Because obviously the counter in Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2 to stopping power and double tap, for those of you that don't remember Call of Duty 4, but I mean, really, who didn't run around at least once with a double tap on an RPD or an M60 or something like that? It was fun. The recoil was hell, but it was fun, right? Because you were just throwing bullets at people, like a lot of them, and it was awesome. But there are other ways to alter TTK. Obviously, Sleight of Hand Pro is one of them, which I talked about in my last video in this series, and Juggernaut is another. I think there was at least one perk that was reduced explosive damage, which I think is a special case. I mean, yes, you're altering TTK a little bit, but then you're talking about attachments, be it an underbarrel grenade launcher or just a regular thrown grenade or a frag. And I think when you start getting into that kind of area, the peripheral attachments and equipment and stuff like that, I think you're okay in altering health or damage output. Again, one-man army was a little bit, I think one-man army would have been, or not one-man army, Danger Close. I think Danger Close would have been fine if it wasn't for one-man army and the replenishing of special grenades via scavenger and stuff like that. I think that would have been fine if it wasn't for those secondary and tertiary attachments or augmentators. Somebody in the comments let me know of that. So I think that would have been fine. But one thing I want to talk about today is in my last video, I just focused on Sleight of Hand Pro and the idea that the faster ADS was severely or significantly altering TTKs, and when you start doing that with perks as well as weapon attachments, you start getting into a whole lot of trouble in terms of removing player skill from the equation that is a specific engagement or any given engagement. Now, I think if I can theorize for a bit, I would like to institute a rule, if I could, like if I was king of the world or whatever. If I was king of the world, I guess it would be weird that I'm focusing so much of my time on video games, but whatever, let's just stick with this metaphor. I would institute a rule where no perk can directly, be it altering player health, altering resistance to weapon damage, or increasing weapon damage. I would make a rule that no perk can augment specifically or directly those things. Like I said, hardened and bullet penetration perks and weapon damage output, I think is skirting that issue a little bit. But I would say it's fine because you're not really, if it weren't for like a barrier or something, the bullet isn't doing more damage. So yes, it kind of removes the idea of cover from the game, but really this isn't a cover-based shooter. It's not. I mean, you can get behind cover and you can use cover, but really at the end of the day, it's not a cover-based, Call of Duty at least, which we're using for the base, isn't really a cover-based shooter. So I would say that's fine. Again, it alters TTK in the instance where one player is behind a barrier or one player is shooting another from behind a barrier. But I think that's a special case that you can get away with. But I would make the rule, again, that no perk should or could or can directly alter TTK or damage output. Now, we get into a problem when we start considering weapon attachments. Again, this is just me spitballing here, but I would take out a perk like Hardened and I would bring back the idea of Full Metal Jacket that we saw in Modern Warfare 2. If you're going to put that in the game, I don't think it's necessary. I think if we refocus or put a bigger spotlight in the idea of being safe behind cover, I think that would institute a bigger element of tacticalness, right? Tact is the right word. Whatever. I would think that would augment the gameplay that much more if that was implemented. But if the rule is going to be that no perk should augment TTK or damage output, we also have to consider weapon attachments. And somebody brought up the idea that rapid fire and stuff like that. I want to get into that later in another video in terms of just full-on weapon attachments. But just know that I'm not forgetting about weapon attachments. That's why I mention it now. I'm not forgetting about weapon attachments. I want to get into that later. But I think when you're talking specifically about perks and focusing on that area of the gameplay, I think what perks are best served to do is augment the peripherals of the gameplay. Augment the things that get you into a specific engagement, not the specific engagement itself. For instance, sleight of hand with its reload time. I think that's a good second tier perk. I'm going to do away real quick with the idea of perk tiers and focusing on what's a good first tier perk versus a good third tier perk, but just in general. In general, when you're talking about perk balance and game balance, I think it's a good idea to augment the peripherals. We're talking about reload time and other things, ninja and hearing other people, or not making any sound, or not being visible to UAVs or spy planes or what have you. Because I think there are plenty of ways to balance the weapons, be it fire time, fire rate, magazine size, damage, silence damage, idle sway, and center speed. Those are pseudo-accuracy measures, not full-on accuracy, but I think there are plenty of ways to balance the weapons so that you don't have to alter specifically TTK or damage output, because when you do that, again, like I said, in any respect, not just Sleight of Hand Pro, but when you start stopping power and Juggernaut, all those things, you start negatively affecting skill, or you start siphoning out skill from the equation. All right, guys, that's my time. I got to get out of here. Next time, I promise I'm going to be talking about weapon attachments and all that stuff. Like the video up, or if I put a comment in, I think I'm going to try something new here. So I'm going to put 2 comments in the video, or in the comment section. Yes, I should continue doing it, and the other one will be no, stop this series. So like one up, or like one or the other up, and then that way I'll know if I should continue or if I should stop with this video. All right, guys, that's my time. I got to get out of here. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I'm out.